it's not fear of missing out, not the FOMO, but it's fear of better options. So due to the enormous speed, you're scared that if you invest today in Microsoft, in Copilot, in whatever, that maybe in 1 or 2 years, the investment was a mistake, right? And so what companies often do is they say, there is so much going on, let's just wait until everything is figured out and then we will do whatever everybody else is doing.
Hello and welcome. This is the podcast From Noise to Sound. I'm Dimitrios, your host. And today I have a very special person, a young woman actually who is very well networked in Switzerland. He's held many roles in C-levels. He's done a lot in the AI business school where she actually have run together with peers for the last 8 years. And actually helped a lot of companies to make the next level. So actually, on the other side, a very energetic personality. So I think we'll all have to learn something from her. Hello, Vanessa Foser.
Hello, very nice being here, Dimitrios. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I think it's one of the, let's say, podcasts that I was expecting so long. It was also not easy to find you. But for me, it is also relevant because I think you are one of the faces that you are known in the market in terms of your work that you have done at C-level, but also at the AI business school. So for me, let's ask the first question. Obviously, I would like to understand what are you doing and why are you actually doing it?
Thank you. So sorry for being so hard to reach.
No, it's also fine.
But now it worked out and
Yes.
we're in the perfect room with the AC on. So for me personally, it was always about the passion that I have for things that I'm doing. So it's all about authenticity, so to say. And my main belief actually is that change is happening where technology meets capital, but also mindset. So I very often try to be the bridge between vision and implementation, between C-level and new ideas, and also between AI and real humans. So I really believe in this symbiosis of different things, and that motivates me because I really want to create something better, something that can help, and yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have seen you have worked or you're working with C-levels from very well-established companies in Switzerland, of course. So now, of course, when you work with C-levels, you talk in a very strategical level. I mean, not operational, not, let's say, technical. So what do you think are the top three, or top three is a bad question, but let's say the main concerns that these C-level have when they have to make this transformation, this change actually, that they have to do anyway. Otherwise, it might be fatal for the company and the strategy itself.
So I think the main topic or the main challenge is that AI or any new kind of technology is very often connected to fears, right?
Yeah.
First of all, what it means for me, what it means for my company, and also how it functions. So this kind of an understanding of a very new topic that also can have elements that are quite complex is a first challenge. As soon as you actually understood that and you understood what you want to do for your company, for your customers, for your employees, then it's really about changing structures of power that have been existing for a long time. That is very difficult because sometimes you maybe even need to crash down things that you are very passionate about or maybe that are relevant for your identity, so to say.
Kill your darlings, as they say.
Yeah, for example. Yeah, exactly. And also maybe look in the mirror and say, okay, the world will be different. How important will I be in the new world, right? And then lastly, I think the big challenge is really about bringing people onto the journey to really change, because I think everybody knows, and that's not about technology, we're all animals of routine, right? And if we're used to standing up every morning, doing our coffee, going for a jog, it's difficult to just relax, or the other way around, right? So the main challenge is that change really means a different way of thinking, a different way of acting, and really finding a new world, so to say.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it before. I mean, offline, you make this FOBO, which I find very interesting because I think I've I have never heard it before, or perhaps it's the first time I had the chance to hear it. So I would like you to explain it because I haven't heard it before. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Give us it.
So you need to imagine that at the moment, due to the very quick development in AI, so artificial intelligence, there are so many new things that you hear, right? You hear about Copilot, about DeepSeek, about the new models from Anthropic and so on. So there is like this new word that you said, FOBO. It's not fear of missing out, not the FOMO, but it's fear of better options. So due to the enormous speed, you're scared that if you invest today in Microsoft, in Copilot, and whatever, that maybe in 1 or 2 years, the investment was a mistake. Right? And so what companies often do is they say, there is so much going on. Let's just wait until everything is figured out and then we will do whatever everybody else is doing. But that is a very big mistake because, as I mentioned, the last reason what is a big challenge for companies is adoption, right? Change. Change management is not happening overnight. So if you for 3 or 4 years don't do anything in the field, it will be harder for you to catch up in 4 years' time. So this fear of better option is something that is the feeling. Having that feeling is completely like normal, and it's also good because it's true. You don't know what will be happening in the future. But what is relevant is that you start moving, that you start deciding, and that you maybe build up environments where you are independent of technology solutions. So you call it agnostic systems, right? So to say, so you're not dependent on Microsoft, but you could take out your prompts and your different systems and plug it into Google or plug it into DeepSeek or whatever. And so FOBO is actually, and I mentioned that to you, like the next Kodak moment, right? If you miss out on that, you will not be... Your fall down will not be due to not being innovative, but because you did not manage to transform your people and your business.
Yeah, I think the people in the center. So now you mentioned a very valid point. We see in the market right now a lot of fear from a lot of people that all these changes will have an impact, and we see that they have an impact somehow. I remember a year before when we were discussing about these new technologies and AI, people were against it because they thought they will lose their jobs. And there, of course, a lot of investments being done by companies exactly for the change. And to justify this investments, a lot of jobs have been cut. And we see it also in the market. We know that new jobs will come in the market, but it doesn't mean that the people will follow those jobs, right? So what's your take on that? What should companies, or on the other side, the people itself, I mean, the employees, do? Should we run behind those changes all the time, we as employees, or the companies themselves behind the employees and the trends? How do you see that point?
So I think that's a very important topic, and that fear I see very often, right? Also myself personally, I mean, I'm in the field of AI for 8 years now, but I still am afraid of certain things that are happening, right? So it's not that only if you know more, the fears go away. But I think it's important, first of all, that change actually starts there where fears are really taken into consideration. So the best AI projects that I actually were part of were where people really understood it's not about technology, but it's about trust. And it's really about taking them on the journey instead of like replacing them. So my recommendation, first of all, is that either you are at a company and ask for like also education to understand better how it works, or you take your personal time and really figure out what works best for you. And it's really like learning by doing. There are different kind of courses that you can take for free. There are like courses you can do like which you pay for it. But it is really, the comparison is very easy, but it's like doing a new sport. If you start running and you want to do a marathon, right, in some months, you also don't start with a half marathon to test or to prepare. But you start with like everyday consistent training. Maybe at first you do 20 minutes, and after sometimes you're ready for 30 minutes, then you're like coming to an hour. And it's never linear, the progression. So maybe the first week you're completely motivated and every day you're getting quicker. And then maybe after 2 weeks' time, you get slower, or your ankle is hurting, or you're not feeling the best. So that's normal. So also AI or like skills in AI will not be linear.
Yeah.
At one moment of time, you think like, now I mastered it. and then you will like have a prompt or like use certain tools and you're like saying, that's not what I wanted. Now it's like somehow like a throwback, so to say. So I think it's important to be open and hungry. There are no stupid questions, so to say.
I think so, yeah. Well, otherwise, you don't have change, right?
Yeah, and just find maybe people that can help you to understand the basics and then find a way that you are consistently trying to get better at it.
So you, in an AI business school on one side, you did a lot of training for companies, let's say.
Yeah.
There's two sides of the coin, right? So I am a company, I mean, we have seen other companies or more companies doing it, let's say, and they engaged institutes to do trainings for the sake of the training that we have done it and you couldn't follow, or at least it's a ticket in the box. And there's companies who said, we invest because we believe without this upskilling upgrade, there's no chance that we will make it. And I think this is both sides of the coin. But on the other side, what do you think? I mean, definitely or certainly you have made mistakes along the way. But what do you see that the opportunity for the companies in terms of the trainings that they have for the adoption, as you mentioned?
So I think there's like one important word that is used often like in psychology and also in leadership setup. So I did like leadership workshops like earlier in during my study times. And the most important part actually is swarm intelligence.
Swarm intelligence.
Yeah. So you need to give people the tools so they understand the basics and enable them to understand the overall rationale. But then they will be smart enough to find their way around. So they will tell you, for example, so let's take AI Business School as an example. In the past, we actually had people scripting the different lectures, right? They were like researching, putting into like a script. Then we had people that actually like managed all the equipment, like the green screen and like having a nice location, organizing the trips for the lectures and so on. Then we had one like team that was just taking the clip, right? And then there were like speakers like myself that needed to prepare according to the script, needed to know everything by heart, needed to look good on that day, have a good energy and so on, and then be able to perform that script, right? But then, like when AI was coming up with all these options, we saw, there are like tools like HeyGen or Synthesia where I can create my own avatar in 2 minutes. And the avatar can look the best version of yourself because you really take the time for the 2-minute video to look the best version of yourself. But after that 2-minute video, you upload it. You need to go through certain tasks that it's like not used for deep fakes, so that it's like secure. But after that, I can use my 2-minute video from my avatar to create hours and weeks and months of content of myself talking about certain things. So what I want to say, to come back to swarm intelligence, as soon as the people understand, this is useful for my task, and this can help me to like save a lot of time, and then take the time better to maybe like have better relations with my partners, with my employees, or maybe even like to think about social media. How could I like scale the impact of that video? Then people will come up with ideas. So the benefit for companies is that if you really take the time to invest into training and people feel comfortable in their daily tasks, they don't need to solve world problems, but just in their daily task, they will actually find ways to make your business much more efficient.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. But just to come a little bit back on the other point, don't we lose a lot of authenticity there? I mean, you said, for example, you uploaded 2 minutes of the best version of yourself, and it will be a nice avatar. But don't we miss a little bit of everything? I mean, don't we lose a little bit of trust also as well?
Yeah.
On that, I mean, it's different that Vanessa talking to me, and it's different when the avatar of Vanessa might be the best version of herself. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't have a connection with this entity, let's say, as I have to Vanessa. So isn't it the same sometimes as with other AI aspects?
Yeah, no, it's a very important point actually, because I think also it is also a question, what do you want to automate or to AI generate? So for example, I always said in my executive workshops, when I showed them the avatar, right, I always told them, okay, now if you now think about you can do everything with the avatar, be careful, one, about trust. Because if you then use an avatar and maybe send out your Christmas cards or your communication to your employees and it's not yourself anymore, it also has like a perception, right? They are not worthy enough to take your personal time to create a video. So, but if you maybe look at communication that is just like going wherever, or Q&A sections, or maybe training materials, I think nobody really cares if it's me, Vanessa, doing now like 8 hours of training myself in front of like the screen, or is it my avatar? But it's different, for example, as you said, for Christmas cards or for a personal interaction. And number 2, which is very important, also is about the IP topic. So I think it's always very important that if you're using avatars or other AI tools, that you always indicate that that's not Vanessa anymore, but that's Vanessa's avatar, right? Just also to be safe about security topics. But yes, I agree. So it's swarm intelligence in the sense of like being more efficient, being more effective, maybe having the same or better quality, but then also making them decide what do we want to automate and what don't we want to automate, and where do we even say, okay, it takes us 8 times more time to do it, but it's worth it because we stay human. We stay authentic. We really appreciate, or we really see the value in it.
Yeah, I think this is we see it every time with technology, radical changes something. The originality becomes a niche, and this niche is actually very, very important. Sometimes goes backwards, the trend, some goes forwards, but this still becomes a niche. I mean, the technology and the adoption, and of course the change, it's relevant for every company, but what I wanted to say is help a lot of companies in this step. You just were with them along the way, and so on and so forth. We have seen things that have been successful, but I'm interested on the things that have not been successful. So what have you seen? For example, you could say, pinpoint out of your brain right now and say, I remember, that have to be a name. It's important though to explain us, where have you seen something that really failed, and perhaps point out why it has failed in these terms for this transformation. That would be interesting for me, at least.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there are different kind of examples for like failing in it. So even though I say FOBO is like something that holds us back, I also believe that if you maybe do 2 big steps which are not thought through, it can also be backfiring. So for example, I have 2 examples. One of them I can say the name, the other one I won't, because I'm not sure if that was public. But the first one is like Klarna. So Klarna, like the payment provider where you can like order from H&M and other companies and then pay over Klarna in 30 days or whatever. So they want to make an IPO. I'm not sure if they now already did, but they wanted. So they had, like, of course, to have a very good story. So they said, okay, we automate like a lot of positions in sales services and after sales services with AI. They could also like show like that they had the same quality and net promoter score with customers, while only using like 1/10 of the time that they needed before. So that was great. But they realized after some time that the quality was not as good as they hoped. And so now, even though they actually reduced their headcount by a lot, they now needed to like again rehire, because they saw it was not working. Their overall strategy was not to like fire people from the positions, but it was more about if people quit, they would not replace the position. And so they went actually down, so to say, in their headcount, but now they saw that it's not working as perfect as they thought. Number 2 is about introducing chatbots or like AI systems with like customer relation, customer facing, so to say. So there is like one very big furniture company a lot of people know around the globe, and they actually very early on realized that AI can be of help for the Q&A section and also in the online chat, so to say. So they trained the AI like according to their Q&A, but I guess they didn't train the AI on all manuals. And so if people, for example, actually like ask them, okay, I bought this furniture, can I also just put it in the middle of the room? The guideline or the manual would have said, no, you can't. You need to put it on the wall and like also mobilize it, screw it. But the AI thought, yeah, why not, right? It's just like a furniture. You can put it anywhere. So they actually advised the customer, yeah, of course, just do whatever. And there was actually a chatbot, not in Europe, but in the US. And you know, like how the US customers are if you then have a problem. So you have a lot of legal claims and so on. That's like a second example. I think overall, there are many examples that it can go wrong. I think what I can say in the end is, on the one hand, that it's not about technology.
Yeah.
It's very much about trust. It's very much about orientation in this time of change. So people need to have some guidance. It's also about like impact.
Yep.
So I think it's very important that you can somehow measure what it brings to the table, because otherwise it just contributes to the FOBO of the executive board that says, okay, we now invested so much money, but we don't see any results. So it needs to come together. And so it's not just about thinking short term, what can we optimize, but really what you said about mid to long term. So what do we maybe even lose if we automate everything? And what can we gain if we maybe still have people that do manual stuff or do the checking, so that we on the one hand don't lose the quality, but on the other hand also that we as a company don't get stupid.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we see it also in the same time. I mean, Klarna is also a very good example, but on the same side, we see it also in Switzerland. We have this Fachkräftemangel, also let's say the
shortage of skills.
There's skills and people, actually not only skills, but also people, because we have jobs that they have need to be done, and it's not about only skills, but you don't find the people. So it's both sides of the coin. So I think AI has a place there in any way, in any company and in any change. I'm fully with you there. I mean, a lot of companies need to do the homework, otherwise it doesn't adopt, and you just invested a lot. And I think personally there will be always a part that we will interact with people. The interaction part will always be there, especially in the B2B sector.
I agree.
That will not change. Of course, they will be much more comfortable. Perhaps the cost structure will be different. But at the end of the day, people like to buy or to interact with people.
Yeah.
That's one side. But I would like to take you back to another point. I mean, I know you from different channels, and I know that you're extremely nice networked and you like to network, and you are also very present. So what's the secret sauce of networking? For you at least. I mean,
for me at least.
There's no secret sauce in networking. But that's a stupid question. But in terms of there is a secret sauce how you do it in order to be, work for you, let's say, as a person, let's say, as a young woman, and what's actually in the markets.
Yeah. So I think I never actually realized it when I was like starting with networking that it would be such a big asset, to be honest. It just somehow happened, and I actually like doing it, and it helped me to accelerate my sales pipeline, so to say. And it's always good if you know people. But to come to your question, so I think 3 main elements are very relevant to doing like networking. First of all, it's preparation. So I think if you maybe are not the most outgoing person, or if you overall don't feel comfortable in like a setup where you need to be outgoing, preparation helps a lot. So prepare in the sense, if you go to an event and you know this or that person will be there or that company, then make your homework and prepare like to know who is Dimitrios, what has he achieved, what are maybe main topics about him, what could I authentically say what I really like about the work he is doing, right? Because I think authenticity is also very important. And then if you prepare well, so to say, you feel more comfortable that if you go there, you don't feel like, oh, what should I say now? What could I do? But you're like already, okay, I know what to say. I know what I want to deliver, and I can prepare, right? I can try and train beforehand. Number 2, for me personally,
Before we go to 2, I have a question here, because if you don't prepare, it becomes dating. It's like, it's you have a lot of awkward moments, and then it becomes...
Yeah, so I think it also depends, right? It depends who is your counterpart.
Yeah.
So I very often needed to network with C-level executives. So they are used that a lot of people talk to them.
Yeah, of course.
And they get annoyed by it. So if you don't have relevant content, they will just think like, who are you? And just walk away or even ignore you or say something like uncomfortable. So maybe if it's more on eye level, in a sense, if you're like a junior, so to say, coming coming to someone is also junior, it's easier. You can just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you don't prepare, the perception of who you are can be diluted, right?
Yeah,
if I just talk about weather, about the food is good, about, oh yeah, the event was really well prepared, you don't stay into someone's mind, right?
Yeah.
The main task is that people go back home after an event or after interaction and say, oh, I remember that one girl. She actually had such a good point about whatever, because the honest or like the word reality is that people meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
You stick in someone's mind because you did something different.
Mm-hmm.
You were unique. You maybe had a good aura. You had like a good point. You had good energy, so to say. And if you are the person that gets nervous, if you don't know what to do, you will lose all of that.
Yeah.
You will not have unique edge. You don't will have energy. You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel like someone being prepared for the moment, so to say. So that's like so I could go there and just like talk about whatever, but people would then say, okay, yeah, she was maybe nice, but she was not anything special.
Very special, yeah.
Number 2 is really about authenticity. So for me personally, there are so many people that I do business with. And of course, if I would now pick who are my friends, I would not pick everybody, right? So for me, it's really about finding something I'm interested in. So even if the person is quite introverted or maybe even boring or even like, I don't know, like you think like, okay, how should I really like stay now for half an hour and talk to that person? I always try to find something that I'm really interested about the person. Mm-hmm. And that can be that someone has like a hobby like doing fishing or like maybe going to like a country where they very often go that I maybe also have been before. So I really try to find something that we can connect. And that doesn't mean that we are connecting on an energy level or on like all of the opinions, but just one topic. And then if you're interested in a topic, it also sticks to you so that when you meet again, you can say, oh, how were your vacation in Greece, right? Yeah. Did you again enjoy this or that? So it's easier then to remember and to build network bridges, so to say, that there's like a relationship, right? And lastly, I think which is really relevant if you do networking, so to say, is that you think about what to do with that connection, right?
Yeah.
So if you just go around, you're super unique. Everybody's thinking about you being in either bed. Also be careful that it's only about business and not about something else if you're being unique.
Yeah, but it's a valid point.
It's a valid point.
It's if you're a young woman, and I think, you will definitely have some stories that's been, outside of the borders.
Exactly. So be very clear as a third point for what you want that connection, right? So maybe if you talk about something and you get their interest and you're authentic about what you're interested, then also like immediately bring it to action that is helpful for you. So if you organize an event, say, hey, I want to have you for speaker or as a speaker for my event. If you're selling some kind of software, you can say, hey, I don't want to be a salesperson, but I really would like to show you like a demo, how we're doing things, or maybe bring it together with my customers that already use the technology or whatever, right? So that's very important. And from my, like as a side tip, if you ever are I think it's a privilege to meet like successful people and to go together and talk about things, talk about business. To be assured that it never gets into like slippery slopes and strange kind of setups. Always only go for lunches and never for dinner. Little tip. So yeah, because dinner is like always like it can be both, right? Of course, you need to eat at the evening, but you could also spend the time with your friends or your family. So if you like meet for dinner, you can meet for dinner and have an agenda. And as soon as you're over, you're like, okay, thank you so much. So I will send you tomorrow the backup information, whatever was really great, and leave. But lunch is much more.
It's boxed.
It's boxed. Yeah. You need to go back to office. You cannot drink alcohol. So you can, but you shouldn't too much, right?
But you have boundaries.
Yeah.
There.
So for girls or for women, that's a really important.
It's also for men, by the way.
Also for men.
I tell you, this coin also has two sides. Also for us as men, having, you have a private life, whatever it is. And dinner, it always drags. And it's, although it's nice for the networking part, and I understand. And at the same time, I don't think it's very rare that business requires a dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
True.
my conclusion. I mean,
it is true.
Usually a dinner is nice when you have closed something, you have a good cooperation, you go out and you celebrate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the business, but as just like acknowledgement of the good work that this has happened. But and then it's much more valid. That's how I prefer dinners or prioritize dinners, at least from my side.
No, I agree. And maybe one addition, as you said it, I mean, for everybody, male, female, whatever, if you're young and more junior, you will have comments or like people, how they look at you that you perceive, okay, they feel like I'm not junior, not good enough, not senior enough.
Yeah.
They have this kind of perception of me. I was always like dealing with it with just like overwhelming them with competence and staying calm.
Yeah.
So I had like one meeting where I actually met with someone from a big company here in Switzerland that is also organized by the Bund, right? And we sat together, and I actually, at that time I was working at C-level as CEO. So I introduced myself, and he said, "You are the CEO of C-level." And I said, "Yes." So he was like, "So that's the boss of C-level?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, looked at me like from top to bottom, like interesting, and made like some notes. And I just really, I didn't got bothered. I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I told him why he would have access over me to like certain people and that he needs to go through me. And then the end of the meeting was really like, wow, I was so impressed. And he also like apologized for like not giving me that credit. So it's not about in that moment to give arguments. Just
let it drop.
Just leave it in the room, but then like overwhelm the person with like your competence, with your knowledge, with your self-esteem, so to say, and then people will realize that they made a mistake. That was like maybe their old kind of thinking about stuff.
No, it's not. I mean, to be honest, it's not the old thinking. Sometimes, I mean, I've left it as well. I mean, I've studied a lot in my life. I'm not a native German speaker. Work in Switzerland. Sometimes you felt marginalized, and it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
It's not about being a human, a woman, or there's perceptions and there are stereotypes. And sometimes, as you said, be calm, let it drop, and pick it up by yourself, blur them with competence, or at least with your good work. And then I think people then you build a much stronger connection and as before as just accepting you as a CEO of C-level or whoever you are at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I have another point. I mean, you mentioned about networking. Now we see a lot of change also in the culture. I mean, a lot of companies have canceled, dropped all their inclusion, diversity, inclusiveness boards, let's say, and roles, and a lot of women come into stress. I mean, that's what I feel from the market. So. I mean, how they will be included, if there will be competition. How's your take on that? I mean, you have talked to a lot of C-levels, and of course, some of these decisions have been taken from companies you've worked perhaps with or CEOs thinking about it. So, what's your take? Let's say that would be the impact in the company side, but on the same side, what can those women, let's say, what feel that this drop out of the day teams will fall down, and what will be the impact for them, what they can do against it.
So you mean like overall, what can women do to like have a culture that is more inclusive?
More inclusive, like because now this drop.
Apart from like just having like some kind of like written.
Yeah, there were some goals. The company was at least they have rationalized or instrumentalized that inside the companies how to promote, consider whatever diversity, and now they have dropped it out and say, you know what, business as usual. And of course that become the first instinct, of course, for a lot of women were now we will have to fight the thing, the organization against men or against whatever it is. So, but what's your take, let's say, from both sides, from the company side that they dropped it, but also what can women do, let's say, that they have felt this fear?
So I think that's a very challenging question. I have to say that I was lucky enough that I never had that problem in my setup. So I often was criticized that I am like hiring too many women and that I give them like too much like freedom, so to say. But what I can say, I think overall is maybe helps for some or the other person. I think if certain things go down and are dropping, which are not in your favor, I would always try to find a sponsor within the organization that nevertheless takes it very serious, because the person maybe has girls themselves or like daughters, or because he or she believes that it's very important. So I think, of course, a company has a statement on certain things, but what is much more success or like important for success is having a sponsor and a mentor. Yeah. So I would try to find someone I can connect on that sees the potential in me and like brings me along the road, whatever is possible, right? So give me visibility, give me credits and so on. And then if I found that sponsor, then I can also negotiate and say, why would I get less money than maybe a male colleague, so to say? Or why should I do more work for the same payment if otherwise you need to hire someone else, right? And like argument more on that turf, so to say. And then the second point I would just say, I mean, it's easier said than done, which is like either love it, change it, or leave it. So try to love the setup if you don't love it, because something changes incrementally that is really not coming together with your own values. Try to change it. I think you will be more successful to go to someone that can help you along your journey. And then, of course, you can give back, right? So I was very much like promoted very early on in my career by my boss, so to say. And I appreciated so a lot that I always did the same for my people then. And last one is, if you really come to conclusion it's not working for you, then go somewhere else where it doesn't need to be a manifest, right? I mean, there are so many companies where you have like these claims on the wall. The more important part is it lived by the people, right?
Absolutely,
is it like really a cultural topic that people care, that they really want the world to be as good as it is possible, right?
Is it mechanical or is it cultural?
Exactly.
Because I think exactly your point. A lot of companies have used it very mechanically just to do it and not really lived about it. And I think it's much more relevant. And I fully agree with you that check a company has it or doesn't have it, doesn't matter. If they are actually living by that, then it's more important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Vanessa, it was a breath of fresh air. I really, really thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much. It was really a lot of fun, and I hope I had some insights that are valuable for everybody. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the both facets, let's say, from adoption, from the new change of AI, but also, let's say, your networking tips, I find it really, really interesting, because I think people miss that part. I mean, they think we just need to network, but what's the effort I have to do? I mean, it's usually the thing I have to take, not to give. Usually it's about giving, and then you will take.
Yeah.
And of course, I think your take, and I always use this question when I have a woman here in the podcast, how this impacts, let's say, a woman from the woman's perspective, the market. But you're the second person, and I find it interesting. Andrea Wucher was here, was also a managing, and she said exactly the same. Love it, change it, or
leave it.
Or leave it.
Yeah.
And I find it seems like you ladies, managers, whatever, have the same motors in the back. But anyway, I think you're absolutely right on that.
I think you need to know your value, so to say.
Yes.
If you know your value, and if you know you're right, and if you know that's your belief, then you can try to argument. But if you do not manage to get further, you need to. Yourself is more important than any role or any position that you have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about the companies. The companies, of course, as you said in the example of Klarna, they try to do the best for themselves, like an entity, of course. And at the end of the day, it's where I am staying against it, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, thank you very, very much, Vanessa, once again.
Thank you, Dimitrios. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope it was fun for you. We'll be in touch. Vanessa's was the last episode of the first season. So we'll have a bit of refreshment, let's say, for the next year. And I hope we all stay in touch. For the summer, I wish you all enjoy the time. And we'll be in touch again in September. For all of you, stay healthy and see you then.